And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey everybody, Tom Vasel here, and today we're taking a look at the new Dice Masters set, Guardians of the Galaxy. Big surprise, Guardians of the Galaxy movie, which was fantastic. Guardians of the Galaxy, everyone's enjoying them. And of course, it's going to have Guardians of the Galaxy in it, which for once has all the Guardians of the Galaxy in it, but has all the characters from Guardians of the Galaxy in it and more. A lot of stuff from comic books that if you've only watched the movies, you'll have no idea what they're talking about. Has a new special ability, foil cards, super rares, all that jazz. Let's take a look at what I got in one of these boxes. Okay, so let's first look here at the dice. The dice are your typical dice, though they seem a bit muted. I really like this one here. The white and the red looks good on that die. Iron Man die, Ant-Man dice. That one looks like cool. There's really no bad dice here. These white-orange ones are a little harder to see, maybe. But for the most part, like this one here, the Cosmic Cube, that's a really sharp-looking die. That might be my favorite die from this set. Anyway, enough about the dice. Let's look at the cards. As with every set, there's going to be blank cards, although I think it's weird that like this one here is Unhinged Avenger and Calculated Devastation, and yet it doesn't give any reasons why they're called that. All right, but let's take a look at some of the other stuff here. We have someone here with Overcrush, where you can do damage. I really wish they had more Overcrush creatures. They got someone with Deadly, where if you attack them, you're going to die. Aftershock, if Daisy Johnson's killed, she does 2 damage to everybody else. Intimidate, where it can only be done to villain characters with this Captain America, but when he comes out, he can take someone out of play. But there's some new special abilities. We have Call Out, where basically you can pick who your defender is going to be. So we see Black Widow, Ironheart, Agent Venom here has Call Out. Then we have the newest thing in this set is Infiltrate, which is a special ability I like quite a bit here. And here's Nebula, who I think is Thanos' sister. She's related to Thanos somehow. Anyhow, Infiltrate here, when they're unblocked, you can, if you want to, bring them back and just do 1 damage. It's kind of a neat thing, right? So your opponent's thinking, all right, I can't let this guy go unblocked. Now, these guys are going to be, like Nebula here is only going to do 1 damage on level 1 anyway. However, if you don't block her, she can do that damage and stay out there. So they can just keep hitting you over and over again. And Squirrel Girl, who a lot of people are excited about, and the Spot, and Star-Lord. There's a lot of folks with Infiltrate. In fact, Gamora here does 2 damage when she infiltrates, which makes that one a really fun card to use. And each time when your character dice use Infiltrate, draw a die from your bag. And Angela, is also like Gamora, where she can do an extra one. And I have the ultra rare of Angela, who, when she's active, your character dice with Infiltrate cannot be blocked and deal no combat damage. So that's interesting. She kind of changes how Infiltrate works. This set is called the Guardians of the Galaxy. So, of course, we're going to see different of the characters from Guardians of the Galaxy in here. Like Call Out, that one I mentioned before. If Star-Lord's here, gives it to everyone else. There's a lot of characters who have abilities that work with the Guardians of the Galaxy here. So, like Groot's active. Your Guardian character dice can't be targeted by global abilities or action dice. No Baby Groot, though, which is sad. If you have another Guardians out, Drax comes out for free. And Cosmos the Space Dog is even here. All right, at this point, we're just going to start showing various cards throughout the set so you can see some of the characters and some of the abilities. Agent Venom here can take over someone else's sidekick for a turn. If Agent Venom here is by himself, he gets a +2/+2. Captain America, I'm sure you've never seen him in Dice Masters before. Captain Marvel, I like this card. When she's fielded, she gets a life. Or here, when she's KO'd, she gets a life. I think I prefer the fielded one, although the KO'd one can happen. It happens pretty much the exact same. So I couldn't tell you which one of those is better. The Collector is here. More Cosmic. Cosmic Cube. Now remember I told you I really like this die. The first action die you purchase this turn costs 1 less. Each other different one you buy costs 3 less. So if you want a bunch of action dice, he can really help you do that. And he can send dice out of play to draw cards. I say he, that's it, sorry. Here's another Daisy Johnson where you can pay extra things to do extra damage to everybody else. More Drax. Dum Dum Dugan, who is one of my favorite characters from the comics. He gets extra dice. He works with sidekicks. Gamora attacks. I mean, this is an interesting thing. I mean, if your opponent is villains, she gets +1 attack and must attack, which could be negative, but it's a pretty good die for only costing 3 to put out there. Ghost Rider, as normal, works best by himself. Here's Groot. The first time damage is dealt to you each turn. He reduced that by 1 or by 2. Ironheart, when they are fielded, they can add a die from your use pile to your bag, or 2 dice, so they kind of help. Hey, it's Nowhere, where your dice cost more to purchase and are put below the bag. And the Kiln. So these are like locations, but I guess they're also special things. I like this one here, 99.99% mortality rate. So you can pick a die from each player's field zone, put them underneath the Kiln until it leaves the field zone. So you kind of can take dice out of play, but it also only costs 2 to put here. Madam Mask here. When she's active, your character dice can't be targeted by global abilities. I don't mind that. Sometimes I wonder if global abilities being removed from the game would not be such a bad thing. Mantis, when she comes out, she brings someone out from the prep area. When your character dice is targeted by an action die, spin her up a level. So Moondragon is here. I wonder if she'll ever show up in the movies. Norman Osborn is here. He helps your other villains. So he makes the villain dice cost 1 less to field. A Nova Corps uniform. All right, so this is another item. I want to say there's 5 items in this set. There's at least 4. The Nova Corps uniform, the 2 locations, and the Cosmic Cube. But here you can equip to somebody else. That character takes no damage from villain dice or global abilities. That's neat. Or this one gives someone +2/+2. So I kind of like stuff like that. I like the equipment from Dungeons & Dragons. And this brings that into play. And here's Nova Prime and Quasar. Ricochet just takes out a sidekick. So that's a lot of fun. Rocket Raccoon shows up. And when he shows up, or when he's killed, he does his attack to a target character dice. So he can take someone else out. Or you can have him be fast. I think I'd rather him be fast. Ronan the Accuser, such a serious guy. Him fighting a Joker would be a bad day. But he gets +2 attack if he's by himself. Squirrel Girl, huzzah. Star-Lord, when he's fielded, he does 1 damage to a target player. Stick can't be defended against by people with a lower level. We have Sword Agents, that's Sentient World Observation and Research Department, something like that. They're part of S.H.I.E.L.D. Anyway, these guys are allies, more sword agents, so you can use them. And Thanos himself shows up. He has become one with death. When he's active, all their villain character cards are considered blank. That's an interesting one to use. You don't want to use that when you have villains in your own team. And then a very expensive Thanos. This one here costs 8. But every time you field a villain die, it does damage to your opponent equal to its attack. Then move that character die to your use pile. That is crazy powerful, but by this point, when you have an 8 character on the board, you're doing well anyway. More Yellow Jacket, Yondu, Whistle While You Kill. He does 1 damage to all opposing character dice. Another Collector, and Beta Ray Bill. All right, so it's time now to show you my 10 favorite cards from this set. So we'll start with number 10, and we have another Beta Ray Bill. He only takes 1 damage from each source. I like that. You know, it's really hard to kill him, just taking 1 damage at a time. I've always thought Beta Ray was a fun character, and this kind of makes him show him how tough he is. Angela is here. When she's active, your opponent's when attacks ability do no damage. That's really neat, okay? She's basically taking out all your opponents. When they attack, they do this and that, which is cool. Adam Warlock here. When he's active, your character's dies when fielded effects trigger twice. That's actually better than Angela, because there's a lot of things that say when fielded do this. And when he takes that away, you can really mess with your opponent. Then we have the Collector. When fielded, you each pick one of your dice. You choose one and place a selected die in your use pile. Remove the other die from the game. So that's kind of interesting. We both pick a die. I'm going to lose a die for sure, which could be bad because my opponent's going to try to pick one. But at the same time, I can just put one out for free. So that's a neat idea, but it does come with a cost. Nowhere here, where you can spin all the character in your reserve pool to level 3, and then field level 3 dice for 1 each turn. You want to put out your big characters and not have to worry about, rolling them, then you're going to want to buy this Nowhere. Nebula, when your opponent draws die, you pick one and throw it back in their bag. It's so annoying. I don't even know why I put her in my top 10, because if my opponent was using this Nebula, I'd be pretty irritated. But there is that. Another Nowhere, where you can swap a character out for one that costs one more. Feels like the original card in Dominion. Number 3, when Quasar is active, your opponent can only spend the wild energy as generic energy. That is amazing. I love this, because they might need to activate global abilities or by certain characters. Quasar can shut down your opponent's wilds. Stick is a lot of fun too. When he's blocked, he does 2 damage to each die blocking him before damage is dealt. That's really neat. If it KOs, every blocking die, Stick is unblocked. So you get Stick out quickly, and your opponent tries to block him with a sidekick. He takes the sidekick out and then does damage to your opponent, and his level 3 does 6. Really cool card. And Squirrel Girl is my favorite card from this set here. While she's active at the beginning of your clear and draw step, field a 1/1 Squirrel token. As far as I can tell, this is the first time in Dice Masters tokens have been brought into the game, but I like it. I like having 1/1 tokens. She just keeps bringing out basically free henchmen that she can put our sidekicks out there. That's a really fun card, and it only costs 4, and I just think that's a lot of fun. So that's my favorite card from this set. Okay, fun set. I mean, part of the fun is the characters. Part of the fun is those infiltrate cards. They give you a good decision. You can let that character go through and do full damage, or you let them go do 1, they can stay back and guard some more. Of course, the person blocking an infiltrate character has to sit there and go, all right, I better block these guys. I'd rather kill them and have a few people die than have them continually do this over and over and over again. So it's a good special ability, because it just puts your opponent on edge. I also like the stuff that cancels things out that your opponent will do. That's nice to have. There's a nice spread. And of course, if you want to play Guardians of the Galaxy, you can play heavy Guardians of the Galaxy, where they're all have abilities that help each other out, which works. Or you can just add them in. And I like that. One of the things I'm not a big fan of in Dice Masters is when the characters only work in specific ways at certain times. This one lets you pick some of those. Hey, I want to use a Guardians strong team. Or you can say, I'm going to play a team, with this person, and Rocket Raccoon just happens to join this team. Some really cool cards. I wouldn't mind seeing more of that token thing on the Squirrel Girl card. And maybe there is some more in the set. I just haven't seen them in this box. But I don't know. I just like that card. And I like these characters. It's good to see these fun characters. Squirrel Girl's a fun character. Quasar is a neat character. I don't care about Cosmo Dog. But, and of course having the Guardians of the Galaxy. I believe this is the second time we've seen each of them. So a lot of cool dice, a good solid set, Guardians of the Galaxy. Dice Tower Judgment, excellent.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door!